Hey everyone, Switched Off here. Some of you may have heard stories or rumors based on MLP G5's about to end soon. Sadly, it seems to be true. Hasbro had decided to end G5. At the moment, I don't know why though, but it's just surprising. Because from time to time, I actually go into this website, MLP G5 Wikia, to learn more about past events like past episodes and even learn some updates about upcoming episodes like that. Especially like months ago when Hasbro announced 4 special episodes for Tell Your Tale. Each one is gonna be 22 minutes long. And since the first one was originally set to be released in March this year, but it was delayed in early April. Then the second one was supposed to be released in early, sometimes late August. But it was delayed. But it still hasn't even been released. And that the thing is, it seems that the second, third, and the fourth special episode aren't gonna be released at all. I was really surprised of any of that. And now it seems the most recent episode of Tell Your Tale that's been released is the final one. Shocking, isn't it? Even months ago when Hasbro did announce 4 special episodes were supposed to be released. Only one. Only one of them have been released. But now there's 3 though. What about them? Well, at first about late September, there was still no further update about any of them. But now, according to MLP G5 Wikia, each those special episodes pages have been removed. So it seems they aren't gonna happen. And the most shocking is that when G5 had just suddenly been announced was gonna end. I was really stunned. I mean, compared to what happened in 2019 when Hasbro suddenly announced G4 is going to be named and having G5 being replacing. But when that Hasbro announcement happened, it was a big storm within the Brony community. Many fans felt devastated, disappointed, and questioned about this decision. But I mean, we all were questioning about G5's status and if this is even gonna be as a good one or not. But when G5 was announced and released, and had been going on for a little while, it did turn out to be a really good show. And many fans were expecting this to last for at least a number of years. Like maybe 10 years or so, like G4. But nope, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It decided to just end 2024, and the show has just only been around for 3 years. That's it. I understand why. I mean, G5 may not even gain much as popularity status as much as G4 did, but still, many fans loved G5, including myself. But Hasbro decided to just end it all like that, out of the blue. And even especially like I mentioned, a couple of months ago, they made an announcement there's gonna be 4 special episodes on G5 in Tale series, but only one was ever made. The other 3 was still being waiting to be released, especially the second one. When that date came, August 22nd, I waited and waited, but it was no uploaded. That particular episode was not even uploaded on YouTube at all. It was only brought to attention by my friend Cody Lane, who told me that it had been delayed for some reason. So I waited for maybe it's gonna be released in early September. If, like I said, the first one was supposed to be released in March, but it ended up in early April. But early September came and went, and now we are in early October. So it later turned out it's not going to happen at all. I am so disappointed of this. I mean, I may not be the only one of within the broader community who feels this disappointment. I mean, considering how many supports of G5 came out, it had been a good show. Sure, even when G5 came out, there were a little bit some doubts that this is going to even be a good show at all. But it turned out to be a really good one. And even when Hasbro decided to end Make You Mark on Netflix, I was surprised. I thought, okay, this will end the whole G5 entirely, but they decided to keep doing a Telltale series on YouTube. Okay, I would say, okay, at least that series will continue from that way. But it just simply wasn't long enough. Even the whole G5 started in 2021 and ends 3 years later in 2024. I mean, I'm surprised on how this even happened. I mean, even if that G5 had regained some quite support and popularity, I'm surprised of that. Then it was announced that a Mexican company were trying to reboot it, the whole franchise, in a ponyverse that possibly could have contained some characters from both G4 and G5, and was intended to replace Tell Your Tale as a main show in 2025. But it somehow seems to be cancelled, and Hasbro, quote, plans for something different. And what the different is, I have no idea. That's all I know. I was really surprised of any of this. Sure, I was a little bit sad when G4 ended. And I was a little bit surprised that Make You Mark ended on Netflix. Even though the last one, Secret of Starlight, was actually supposed to be in Chapter 7, but they decided to put that in Chapter 6. So, Make You Mark was good, including some of the characters like Twilight in just one episode, and a little bit of reference for Celestia and Luna in one particular episode, and Spike in a few episodes. That was surprising, and I loved it. To finally see at least one of my favorite characters back. I was expecting maybe to see Spike in Tell Your Tale series sometimes, but nope, that didn't happen. But top of that, if this is actually real, they will leave a lot of questions in the many unanswered questions of this. Like, what happened to Stannis' mother? Will Queen Haven and Alpha Battle get married? But on top of that, what about Allura, the supposed new flying leopard? We know for a fact that she came from one other place, not from Starlight Ridge. She wanted that Nova charm in order to return home. So, now the G5 had ended, just suddenly like that, they will still leave a lot of questions unanswered, like, what will happen to Allura? Will she even remain in Equestria forever? Or will she find a way back home? Will the main six help her somehow? It's an unanswered question, that. But that also depends if that the show will continue as in the comics. Because if you're looking back, G4, when it ended, they decided to continue season 10 in a comics. So, will G5 continue only as in a comic series? That's a question. I have no answer for that, since I'm baffled. I mean, considering how many fans out there, when they run a community, love G5. and still support G4, but still, this is unsurprising an answer for many questions. That part. But I had this kind of what in a world moment when I heard about the G5 ended. But on top of that, when Hasbro announced G4 ending back in 2019, you can only imagine how the fans like, what in the world kind of moment. Like, the series had lasted for 9 years, for almost a decade. And now, with the G5 being the replacer, we all thought maybe that's gonna be lasting for at least a number of years. I mean, sure, it lasted like 3 years, but not even close enough. I would have been happy if the show could have lasted maybe just 5, maybe 8 years at least. It's like, it's one of the questions that are really unanswered. Could has Sunny and her friends had gone to Skyros or something like that? It would have been an amazing series. But at least I brought back Spike in a couple of episodes, but nope, it didn't happen. When this whole series ends like this, it will leave a big cliffhanger. Like, so many questions being unanswered. What happened to Laura? Will she ever return home? Or will she ever be reunited with her brother, Altero? And so many other questions that we may never actually get an answer to now. This is just unreal, unrealistic plot twist. With considering that now that G5 has finally met its end only after so short time, and even though that Hasbro has something else in mind, something different, and what that may be, I have no idea. It can be anything. Could it be a potential for Generation 6? Maybe. But then some fans might like, now that G5 is ending, is there a potential that they could bring back G4, maybe continue the series from that, as what they left off? I mean, the potential for that is possible. But in my honest opinion, for bringing back G4, I really doubt it. Why? Well, considering it has been a few years since G4 ended, and with the G5 was supposed to be the replacement for as continuing for the whole franchise. So now that G5 has finally met its end, the most logic that for among the fans like, okay, now we have G5 ended, now G6 gonna be in replacement again. Well, again, we don't know. Its potential might be a G6, or maybe G5 is the final generation with the MLP franchise entirely. But it's just that. It's speculations. Maybe they are ending G5 to just bring in G6. Maybe this was the plans all along for Hasbro had in mind. Only to use G5 for only a short time before introducing G6. I mean, that's only speculation from my end, but I would really hope that is not the case. Otherwise, I would really be really devastated and disappointed on this. But, and after all this, now that Hasbro had made their choice to end G5, what does that mean to me for my support for G5 and for mostly G5 though? Well, one answer, unchanged. I will still support G5 and G4 despite what happened. Will I stop doing my love stories based on G5 characters? Not at all. I will continue to do that. But I'm still shocked of that G5 is gonna end shortly. Really. Just to be on the record here, now that the G5 is finally meeting its end, what do I believe us to? Well, it still leaves me a big supporter and still a big fan of G5 including with G4. But I was surprised of how much of this will just suddenly end. It still leaves a lot of unanswered questions. One in particular about Sunny's mother. Even though we don't know much of her name, I would have been happy if they could have just at least gave her an official name. I mean, we know for a fact her father's name and last name, so why not at least her mom? And her mom went on a mission for some reason. And for where? It's unclear. For what reason? Once again, unknown. But it has something to do about magic to restore it. That's all I know. But, like I said, now to the end of G5, it still leaves a lot of tons unanswered questions. Like, will we ever get any answers? Well, we may not get much answers from some of the questions, or is it even potentially that we may have never get an answer to any of the questions? That is one thing where we must have a faith of heart. Always remain as a fan of G5, even though they may have to bring a G6. Is the potential for that? Possible. But what will it bring us to though? I mean, think about it. If they decide to bring G6 as a replacement for G5 as another spin-off, then the main question is, if there's gonna be a G6, how long will that generation last? Considering that G5 lasted for 3 years. G4 lasted for 9 years. So if there's gonna be a replacement for a G6, is it possible that one even gonna be, I don't know, maybe somehow continued from G5, maybe only a few years later, or even perhaps set place even further in the future? But if there will be a G6, there is one major question about it. Will it continue to be in Equestria, or will it be an entire universe entirely? Consider that G3 was not in Equestria, just a matter of reference on that. So yeah, G5 is finally meeting its end. I'm still surprised of any of this though, to be honest. That G5 started back in 2021, ends now, only 3 years later. I'm still surprised and also confused to the main reason for that. But anyways, if any of my fans or viewers have any thoughts or opinions about this, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, this is Switch Diablo, over, out.